Hi guys, this is lesson 72, measuring line segments to the nearest half inch. Today's date is Tuesday, April 14th, 2020. On Sunday, it was Easter, and today is Tuesday the 14th. So it's Tuesday, April 14th, 2020. Now, does anyone remember how many days we've been in school? The last time we had a lesson, it was last Tuesday, and we had been in school 141 days. Now we have been in school 144 days because we had the long weekend. Okay, so you can fill that in on your math meeting today. How many hundreds? How many tens? How many ones? 144. Okay, before we get started, I want to read a problem that we would do, our problem of the day, okay? So here's the problem. Dakota has 36 pennies. Haley has 10 fewer pennies than Dakota. How many pennies does Haley have? Dakota has 36 pennies, and Haley has 10 fewer pennies than Dakota. Would that be plus 10 or minus 10? If she has 10 fewer, you're right, we're going to take 10 away, and we want to know if she has 10 fewer than Dakota, how many pennies does Haley have? Well, this is what we did last week, right? This is using mental computation to subtract 10 from a number. And remember, what we're going to do is we're just going to take 10 away from that tens place. Basically, we're taking this 1 away, right? So we're saying 3 minus 1. And you know that 3 tens take away 1 10 equals how many tens? 2 tens. And then our ones place remains the same, doesn't it? It's like saying 6 minus 0. For 6 stays the same. And so how many pennies does Haley have? She has 26 pennies, and we always want to put our label. 26 pennies. Okay, very good. Let's get started on our lesson for today. You'll see I have a ruler up here at the top. Now, I hope you have your ruler with you. If you do not, please get that now. I want you to have your ruler in front of you, and you're also going to need this sheet that looks like this. Okay, it's lesson worksheet 72. So if you could make sure that you have that as well, and just lay that down in front of you. We're going to get to that in just a minute. Today we're going to talk about measuring a line segment to the nearest half inch. Okay, so here I have a ruler, and you can see that my ruler does not look exactly the same as your ruler, does it? My ruler is bigger because I drew it on the board. I'm going to hold up a ruler here so you can see how it compares. Okay, it's fairly close, but not quite the same as the size of a ruler. But I did it just a little bit different, a little bit bigger so that you could see it better, I hope. Okay, so I have 12 inches on my ruler, just like yours. I am wondering if you could tell me, okay, I want you to just know in your head, or you could even speak it or tell mom and dad if they're sitting with you, where would we put a half inch on this ruler? Okay, let's go down here to the first one. Where would I put a half inch here? Here is 0 and here is 1. You're right, half inch would come right between the 0 and the 1 because it's halfway between 0 and 1. Where would I put my half inch here? Yes, halfway between the 1 and the 2. Halfway between 2 and 3. Halfway between 3 and 4. 4 and 5, 5 and 6, 6 and 7, 7 and 8, 8 and 9, 9 and 10, 10 and 11, 11 and 12. These are our half-inch marks. Have you ever looked at your ruler before and noticed that it has lines that come between each of the whole numbers? Okay, I want you to look at your ruler. Look at the ruler that you have in front of you. See if you can find that half-inch mark between each number. I'm going to hold up my ruler here really close. And I want you to look here. I'm going to try to point it out. Do you see right there between the 1 and the 2? Do you see that long line there? That is your half-inch line. Now you have other lines there too, don't you? Okay, we're not worried about those right now, but we are looking at that line that is right in the middle of 1 and 2, and that is what we call the half-inch because it's halfway between. It kind of reminds me of time. You know, in time when we say 2:30 or 6:30, why do we say that? Because it's halfway between the 2 and the 3. Okay, so this is the same thing, except these are inches. Okay, now let's count our lines here. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to count down the ruler, and I want you to count with me. So we're going to say our whole numbers and our half numbers. Okay, here we go. 0, 1/2, 1, 1 and 1/2, 2, 2 and 1/2, 3, 3 and 1/2, 4, 4 and 1/2, 5, 5 and 1/2, 6, 6 and 1/2, 7, 7 and 1/2, 8, 8 and 1/2, 9, 9 and 1/2, 10, 10 and 1/2, 11, 11 and 1/2, 12. Okay? So that is how we recognize our half-inch markings on our ruler. And we're going to be using half inches to draw line segments. But before we do, we're going to do that again. We're going to count down the ruler, and I'm going to write those numbers so that you can be reminded what those fractions look like when we write the number 1/2, because we're going to be writing that a lot, okay? So here we go. We have 0, 1 and 1/2, 1, and what would this be? I'm sorry, I did that wrong. Please forgive me. 0, 1/2, 1, and this would be 1 and 1/2, 2, and what would this one be? 2 and 1/2, 3, 3 and 1/2, 4, I hope you're saying this with me, 4 and 1/2, 5, 5 and 1/2. And notice, guys, I want you to pay attention to this. This is really important. Notice I have my 5 here, and then this is 5 and 1/2. This has to be 5 and 1/2 because it's after the 5, but it's before the 6. It's between the 2. So it's 5 and 1/2. Okay, let's keep going. 6, 6 and 1/2, 7, 7 and 1/2, 8, 8 and 1/2, 9, 9 and 1/2, 10, 10 and 1/2, 11, and 11 and 1/2. Okay, and that is all the half-inch markings on the ruler. All right, let's go back down to the 0 here. Okay, you'll notice, remember I had to correct that one. Why is that not 1 and 1/2? Okay, here's the 1, right? So then this would be 1.5 between the 1 and the 2. Look at this one. Notice we don't have a whole number in front of this one. Why? Well, because we're not even to the 1 yet. We don't even have 1 inch yet at this little mark right here. Okay, so this is half of an inch. So that is why it is just the fraction 1/2. Okay? All right. So if I wanted to draw a 2.5 inch line segment, I'm going to use this ruler, not the real ruler, okay? But you can practice on your paper there in front of you if you want. But if I wanted to draw a 2.5 inch line segment, okay, I would start at the 0, right? I'm going to put my dot there, and then I would draw my line to the 2, and then I would go halfway between the 2 and the 3. And that is a 2.5 inch line segment. So it's the same that we've practiced for a long time, guys. You know how to draw to the nearest inch, right? Okay, so if you're using your ruler, of course, you always line it up at 0. And then if you were going to the 2, right, you would draw into the 2. But then to do 2.5, you go to the 2, and then you just go a little bit further until you come to that long line between the 2 and the 3. And that would be 2.5. Okay? Now, 2.5 what? Well, we're measuring in inches, right? So we could write that 2.5 inches. But remember how we learned that we don't always, when someone is doing math, they don't always want to write out these words, and that's why we have abbreviations. And so most often you're going to see 2.5 inches looking like this. Remember those 2 little marks? It looks like little quotation marks, and that stands for inches. Okay? All right, just to make sure that I'm not going too long on this, let's go ahead and grab that paper. If you have any questions, I want you to ask Mom or Dad. I wish I could be there with you to help you measure these today, but you will have Mom or Dad there with you, and you can just ask questions, and they can help you. But very quickly, I just want to sort of walk through what you're going to do here. And just for the sake of time, I'm not going to do the whole thing with you. Okay? I'm just going to let you do this at home. So it says draw these line segments. Okay, you know what to do. You're going to grab your ruler. Okay? And of course, the first one is just 3 inches. All right? This is not, it doesn't have half inches on there. Okay? So you're going to put your ruler at the dot, starting at your 0, right? You always have to have your 0 there on that dot. And then you're going to hold the ruler and then draw your line over to the 3 and then stop. Okay, well the next one is 2.5, right? That's what we just did. You're going to use your own ruler this time. Okay, make sure you line up your ruler at the 0. You're going to draw your line over to the 2. And then you're going to go slowly until you reach that long line right there between the 2 and the 3, okay? The next one would be 1.5, okay? All right, then when you get down to the bottom, you're going to measure these line segments, okay? So this one, you're going to line up your 0 at the dot and see how long is that line, and then write the number in the box. It might be a whole number. It might just be 3 inches or 4 inches, or it could be something half, 2.5, 3.5, okay? Look, there's a long one. You're going to measure this one, write how long it is. This one is a little bit shorter. Measure that one, and then, oh, look at this tiny one down here at the bottom, guys. I wonder if someone can guess how long that line segment will be. If you can guess, you're really smart. You're figuring this out, but I want you to measure that tiny little line segment and write right here how much that is. And then you can have Mom or Dad check your paper. And that is measuring to the 1/2 inch. We will be working on this more later. Have a good day.